Hi, this is Father Whit, and welcome to Godly Play. Let's take a look in the classroom. When you come into Godly Play each week, Mrs. Lloyd will be sitting here, and she's our greeter. She'll welcome you into the classroom. She'll ask you to take a seat, and then you can come take a seat in the circle. I'll be sitting here each week. The reason that we have chairs in the circle is so that you can be up a little higher and see down on the story. Godly Play is designed for children from pre-K all the way up. Even adults do this in some parts. And the story may seem a little childish to you, and I'm going to make big, slow motions. But the idea is that that slows us down and that gives us time to think. Each week we'll gather in the circle. Each week we'll hear one of the stories from the Bible and we'll ask questions about that story. Those questions, as much as the answers, are what are important in Godly Play. After we've told the story, we'll interact with the story by doing some art or telling the story to one another or writing a poem. Any way you want to engage the story and talk about it and think more deeply about the story and how that story connects with your life is what Godly Play is all about. Since you haven't been able to be in the room or get the introduction to the class, I'm going to walk you around the room and show you all the things that are in our Godly Play classroom. In Godly Play, we move more slowly and we speak more slowly, and that gives us time to listen and think. As a virtual learner, you'll be on this computer here, and we will turn it so that the class can see your faces, and the camera will be pointed so it can see the story. Over here are our seasonal colors. The church year has colors that change by season, just like the seasons change color out in the real world. When it's spring and summer, things are bright and green and colorful. When we move to the fall, things turn gold. And when we move to the winter, trees are bare and empty. The church seasons change color as we go. The current color of the season will always be right here on our little priest. Right now we're in the season after Pentecost and the color is green. Our little priest has on their robe, and this could be a man or a woman, and this chasuble or fancy robe is the color of the season. Here in the middle of our classroom is our focus wall. And on the focus wall, we have some of the main stories of Godly Play. Down here is the story of the Good Shepherd and the sheep. Over here is the story of the Last Supper with Jesus and his friends gathered around the table. This table reminds me a little bit of the table around which we have Holy Communion. Looking at the other parts of the focus, here we have the star and a donkey and Mary and Joseph and a basket. That sounds kind of like the Christmas story. In the middle are 3 crosses and an open, empty tomb. This is the Easter story. Here's another shepherd and sheep that follow. Over here, there's a person that looks like they need help, and somebody helping, and some people just watching and looking. We'll have to figure out what that might be about. Here is Jesus and some more of his friends. And then here are a list of places in the Bible and a traveler that's moving around from place to place. We'll use those as we tell different stories. On either side of the focus wall are the two main celebrations of the church. On this side is Christmas. And on the Christmas side, of course, we have a nativity scene with the baby Jesus and Joseph and Mary, the animals and the wise men, the magi with their gifts. Here's an Advent wreath that goes around, and the Advent is the season that we prepare ourselves for Christmas. On this side of the focus wall is the Easter side. And the Easter side doesn't have much on it yet, but we'll be filling that in as time goes by. Over here is a lectern with a little Bible on it, an altar with a chalice, a corporal, a purificator, a paten, and a piece of bread. Here we can act out and we can talk about Holy Communion. Here's a baptismal font and a baby ready for baptism, and we can talk about baptism using those things. On this wall is the calendar. This is the church's calendar, and the church's calendar is like a wheel that goes around and around and around. The two main holidays, Christmas, which is always December 25th, and Easter, which moves over the course of the year, determine where all the other holidays and colors go. This arrow points to the current Sunday in the church year. We also have a small copy of the calendar, and on that small copy of the calendar, we will move it down and put it in the circle with us to talk about the church year. Here's Christmas, here's Easter, and some years Easter comes early, like this, and this season gets short, and this season gets long. Other years Easter comes late, and this season gets longer, and this season gets shorter. Here's our arrow that points to whatever Sunday we are in the church year. On this wall are the stories of the Bible. Here are the stories of the Old Testament. The Old Testament is written in an ancient language called Hebrew. So the Old Testament is sometimes called the Hebrew Scriptures. And here are some of its stories. Here's the story of creation. And the first thing God does is says, "Let there be light." Here is the story of Noah and the ark. And right in here are two animals moving onto the ark, 2 by 2, and there's lots of more things in there. This is the story of Abraham and Sarah and how they're called to leave their home and go to a new place and make a new family that God will use to bless the whole world. This is the story of the Exodus, where the Jewish people are called by Moses to leave Egypt and move into freedom. This is the story of the 10 best ways to live, or the 10 commandments that Moses receives with the people at Mount Sinai. In the middle of this wall is where the Bible is. The Bible is where all our stories come from, and the Bible is always here to remind us that this is where our story is told, and we can look and find those stories. Lots of stories in the Bible happen in the desert, and this is our little piece of the desert, this sand-colored board. And when we tell stories of the desert, we move this into the middle of the room, and we put the desert down in front of us, and the stories happen on this board. The next section of this wall is the New Testament. The stories of the New Testament are written in Greek, another ancient language. In this pretty treasure cabinet are some of the teachings of Jesus. Here's an example. Jesus said everything boils down to these 2 rules. You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. And you must love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus says if we do these 2 things, we've fulfilled all the law. And there are many more teachings of Jesus in this special cabinet. This gold box that looks kind of like a present is a parable. And lots of parables will be in this gold box. Our very first parable is the parable of the Good Shepherd. And we'll tell that story first when we get together. We're back to our door and our entry space. When we do our work, each of us might want a little special place to do our work that's private and ours. So when we do our work, everybody's free to grab one of these carpet squares and put it anywhere in the room that they want. Again, I want to remind you, 5th graders, that this seems childish, but that's the idea. It's about regaining some of the wonder of the stories as a child. This is good for adults. This is good for college students. It's good for anybody. And so you can work on the carpet. You can sit on the carpet and work someplace else. And what do you work with? Let me show you. This part of the room has all of our art supplies. We've got some little hard boards that give you a hard surface to color or draw on if you want. We've got rubber band boards here and rubber bands that let you do different kinds of designs. Glue and scissors, erasers, rulers go in this little box, pencils and erasers, crayons, color markers. We have all kinds of paper, construction paper, cardboard, watercolors, more crayons and pastels down there. Anything you could need to do art. When we do a piece of art that we want to share with others, this is our share wall. And somebody's already shared one of their drawings there. On the edge of our shear wall is this little limb. And the limb comes out of the edge and has a little bird's nest. I have no idea what this may be. Maybe we'll learn over the course of the year. When we make a mess, or when we need something to clean up, this is our cleanup supplies. We have paper towels, we have Germex, Kleenex, whatever you need. And that's right next to our sink. Our sink's a place where we can wash our hands or clean up after we painted or done something like that. Each class group has their own cubby hole. And when you've done work that maybe you're still working on, or work that needs to dry, it can go in your class's cubby, and that's where you can keep it until you're done with it and take it home or bring it back to share with others. This is the 5th grade spot. Let me remind you one more time of the way Godly Play works. Each week we'll come to class. You'll show up virtually. We'll gather in a group and say hi to one another. We'll tell one of the stories of the Bible and we'll talk about it. We'll wonder about it. Then we'll do some work where we write a poem or draw a picture or tell a story ourselves. We'll think about what characters are essential, what the characters themselves might be thinking, what God might be up to. Then we'll clean up from our work and gather together in the circle, and we'll celebrate that. Sometimes we'll celebrate by eating, like we do at Thanksgiving with our families, or a birthday party. Sometimes we'll celebrate by talking with one another and saying a prayer. Sometimes we'll celebrate just by enjoying being together. Then we'll say goodbye to each other, and we'll go back out into the world. We'll carry in our hearts the slow and quiet lessons we've learned here. And hopefully we'll make the outside world a little bit more like this place and a little bit more like the kingdom of heaven. I look forward to having you in our class this year. I look forward to seeing you virtually week by week. And if you have any questions, just send me an email and we'll figure it out together. I hope you've enjoyed this introduction to Godly Play, and I will see you all next week in class. Bye.